Come and take a class at the Alteration.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of Alter Academy, where we have another special guest ready to showcase the first deck of Alter Academy in FABLED, Worlds Qualifier, and member of Team Maelstrom, my friend S4iler. How are you doing today?
Hey, very good, very good. Thank you, Jeff, for asking me again to do this. I was one of the first one to do it with
The first.
the first one with Ruby Sapphire. So it seems that I have been so far the first few times, and I'm very grateful for it. And I can't wait to dive into this new post-rotation metagame. And I figured what's best than just a very proactive deck to be showcasing to start with.
I'm glad you brought up the Ruby Sapphire thing, because I was going to mention that you're not going to be discussing Ruby Sapphire today. We're actually going to be discussing your Tiana Amber Steel aggro deck. So why have you decided to pivot off of Ruby Sapphire and go this route?
I mean, I've been exploring a lot of different archetypes for this new format, and this is one that I find very powerful. For people who don't know, I've started playing Lorcana back in the first chapter with an Ember Steel deck, the one playing Stitch Rockstar, Whole New World, Ariel, build with lanterns was my specialty. And I've won a lot with it. Like I had a very, very convincing win rate back then with it. So I first got known for playing Ember Steel, actually. And so this is going back to that route of going wide. And I figured in a meta without any way to punish people for doing so, it was a good approach. And I figured if there's less removal, less board wipe, one way to be able to try to win against an aggressive start is to have like a profitable challenge into those decks. And there's two things that are very good against challenge decks is either going wide, because usually the character that can trade favorably into small, high questing characters are more expensive, so you can not usually play too many of them at the same pace as you can with those smaller characters. But also the ability to lock down some of those challenges with the unique ability of Tiana, Restaurant Owner, where whenever she's exerted, every character needs to pay 3 for it to not lose 3 of their strength. And that ability stacks with multiple Tianas and also makes it so that if you have a Pluto exerted, then you need to pay 3 to get to challenge the Pluto. But as we all know, it's really hard to take out the Pluto in one swoop. But the thing that balances the Pluto is that you can do it with a second character, right? Mm-hmm. And that second character will only take 1, so you don't lose too much in terms of resources, but in tempo you do because you challenge into both. But what if you need to pay 3 for all of those attacks onto Pluto? Then it becomes absolutely tempo destroying to just take out the Pluto, and then the Tiana is still up there. So you would need like 9 ink plus 3 characters attacking to get through this Pluto and Tiana, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of this deck is to basically go wide and get behind the Tiana Pluto lock. Sometimes you don't even need the Pluto, because you could also Tiana and then sing Strength of a Raging Fire to take out whatever they have of 4 strength or more, and just turn sideways and win the game, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why you can do this is because Steel has the best card draw in the game right now in the form of Doc Bold Knight. Because early on, if you don't have the Tiana installed already, you just deploy characters. You don't have to quest, right? And maybe the opponent could just match the number of characters, and you never find the timing. But if you are able to put characters on board and then play a dock, you'll get you'll eventually have a wider board, right? And
Right.
that's only possible because you have a very good proactive card draw, such as Dog.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Strength might be the best card in Fabled. I don't think there's going to be a Steel deck, really, that's not going to want to play 4 of these cards. So Steel's going to be
Yes,
very powerful with Strength, because it's one of the only good removals left.
it is, and it leans into a go wide strategy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because of how that card is templated, um, and it also works with Doc, uh, right? Going wide, going proactive, right? So, and one of the reason why also is that purple has a lot of draw as well, and they can pair that with a few different colors, and they can try to go wide as well. But the uh, the dock into the strength can be very 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 tempo positive, and it's kind of like the way to go under those decks, right? Like
Right.
Blurple tries to be like the bigger, kind of like filling the role of Ruby Sapphire in the last few sets, being the bigger deck, and you're just not going to go bigger than them. So building Ember Steel in a way to try to do that is always going to fail because of cards like Hades, the fact that they can ramp, they can play like bigger things, and you don't have the payoff or the disruption of a whole new world. So I feel like we're restricted to play under Blurple, and that's kind of going to be similar to what we had in previous formats with Ruby Sapphire and decks that tried to go under it. But the mid-range decks kind of have a hard time against Tiana, and they have a hard time against Blurple as well, right? So
Right.
those two decks are going to be the most polarizing decks, and then we're going to have some decks that try to beat both, but it's not an easy task, right?
Right. All right. Well, I think that gives us a nice summary of this deck, and I'm glad we took a little extra time here, because with Fabled, these new decks are really changing how we play Lorcana, and so that was very, very, very interesting, and I'm excited to see how we actually alter. So let's go in, as we always do, blind on the play.
All right. I think keeping two Tiana is always too greedy
Mm-hmm.
because of the uninkability. This deck runs 16 uninkable and like stops at 4, but still you don't really want to be uh, stuck too much under 3 ink. And here we have on the play the best card to open is Daisy Duck because it's a very hard card to interact with. On the draw, she can serve some roles of being a high willpower character that can challenge some of the early threats. But giving your opponents cards when they're on the play is very dangerous. So here she's at the best on the play here. Penny is fine to drop. Like her ability probably won't come up too much on the play after playing a Daisy. We're going to play a Tiana turn 3, and we're going to be able to tempo our opponent out of the game with that strength of a Raging Fire.
Yep.
So that's like almost as good of an opener as you can hope on the play, which means that you don't necessarily have to risk too much here to try to get the absolute nuts, because this just should be enough on its own. And when I'm talking about the absolute nuts, right, it could be like triple Daisy into Tiana singing strength. Like there's absolutely no way that you lose that game.
Right.
But I think going Penny is just good enough. And the Rhino I look at as just ink here. The Tiana, second Tiana, I don't think is necessary. I would ship it away, and the reason is that I would rather try to find a dock uh, to refill or a Pluto to lock the game out, right?
Yep.
That's the two way that would be best. And be our guest here in this deck is as a way to find either a Pete if we're playing against a deck that plays Under the Sea, uh, or uh, or maybe against a Steel deck that they play Pete after we play Tiana, so that they can strength the Tiana on the following turn. And so, as we all know, well, maybe not all know, but like as a lot of us know in the Steel Mirrors, the last one to play the Pete is the one that's going to get the advantage out of it. So you can always be our guest for Pete, and your singers will be protected by the Tiana. And if you find Pete off of the Be Our Guest, or even like a Pluto could be fine. It means that you get to quest while they're trying to set up a comeback mechanism like Strength of a Raging Fire, but you stall it out with Pete, and by the time that they're off of the Pete lock, you've just too far away, right?
Right.
So it could be that. It could be fine, but most likely more like finding a dock in order to get going. The problem with that, of course, is that if you sing it with a tool or quester, it's not that great. So you can always art cast it if your hand is empty and you have like 4 ink, right? You hard cast it into trying to find a dock to hard cast it itself.
Yep.
So I wouldn't do too much here and would just like mulligan away the Tiana and be pretty happy about that opening.
All right. And we got it.
All right. So yeah, it's like Ink Pluto, Ink Rhino, Ink BR Guess, and like in the next 2-3 draws, we should be able to find a way to not having to Ink Pluto.
Yeah.
And we never inked that Strength of a Raging Fire. I was talking about being 16 uninkable, but the reality is that Strength of a Raging Fire is as close of an uninkable as it can get, right?
Right. 100%.
That's why I kept that Rhino in that BR Guess, because like I don't want to ink the cards that I want to play, right? So I'm not going to get greedy here.
Right. Yeah, and I think this was about as good as we could start to Alter Academy, showcasing just like exactly what we want to do. So rare that happens, but love to see it. So let's move into blind on the draw now.
Wow, that's insane. All right, okay, so this is the opposite of the deck, and exactly the side of the deck that we want to see on the draw, which is the Hook and the Calhoun. And a Strength of a Raging Fire. Like those 3 cards are exactly what we want to be seeing on the draw in order to make sure that we just don't lose too early. Because even though you're an aggressive deck, you can play as like a more of a mid-range. And of course, in these cases, like the worst card in our deck is going to be Mr. Arrow, because he's just a proactive card, right? Maybe like Penny also not that great in those instances. And that's why we have the full Calhoun's, so that on the draw, we try to get that over the others. So that's a good way, but obviously that's not a lot of lore pip, right? So you're going to need to play a bit of a more like of a mid-range approach. But if you just play out your small defensive characters and don't have a way to replenish with a dock, you can just get got by like by value, like against multiple genies, for example. They just chain genies, and you've played your 1-drops that don't even trade into it. So I would look to keep Hook, Calhoun, Dock, and Strength, and basically what we need is a 3-drop to sync Strength with. Right, so this I'm gonna be a little bit more greedy on the not greedy, but like a little bit less conservative, trying to go a little bit deeper into our deck to try to find such a card. And maybe some could say that like keeping the dock is not necessary here on the draw, but if we're looking to play to the board, we're gonna get empty-ended pretty quickly. So I want to make sure that I have a way out of it. So yeah, and we have a lot of 3-drops. So and being on the draw, we'll draw 1 more card before we're able to play to make a decision on what to ink.
All right, let's see what we get. No 3-drop.
No 3-drop. We do have Mr. Arrow as like 100% ink for the turn. And since we have 2 Kaloons, it's gonna depend on what our opponent does on turn 1, right? There's a way that we maybe have to hold on to that hook and not play it.
For ink,
Maybe
right?
maybe simply ink it. Yes. And I like our odds of finding a 3-drop still, right? Even if we didn't find it here, the deck is full of them. We have Lilo, we have Lady, we have Tiana, and we have Pete. So that's a good number of them.
Yeah, and I will say
And
the lady
yeah,
into dock is still such a fun play. The
it
surprise
is
hand
not
empty.
not only fun, but pretty powerful tempo play. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, let's do what I consider one of the other early front runners for best deck is let's do Blurple on the play.
All right, Blurple on the play is a very favorable matchup for as long as we can get under them. So that's very much the approach here. Um, the the best we could ever hope for is to have like multiple daisies into a singer singing strength, right? Uh, that's the absolute best here. Kaloon could actually be fairly okay if they're trying to play one of the 1-drops like Rafiki or the other octopus, right? The Royal Guard, and try to double challenge Daisy Duck in 2 turns. If you play Daisy into Kaloon, they just cannot do that because you gain 4 lore and they basically lost a card for no reason. So the Kaloon is actually pretty fine here to protect the Daisy from retaliation. Everything else is kind of eh. The Lilo on the play in this matchup is a total blank, right? It doesn't do anything. It's just a very good card on the draw. And whenever we're having a stalemate of like 2 decks putting things on board but don't want to commit to a quest, eventually one of them will try to break that parity. And if you have the Lilo in hand, you just can, specifically with those Kaloons, right? You can just break the game open.
Right.
But here is really not what we're looking to do. We're on the play. We don't have a way to refill. We don't have a 3-drop, but we do have a nice 1 and 2. Obviously, if we keep the Daisy and the Kaloon and ship everything else, there's some risk associated with the uninkabilities, specifically here on the play. So it might be a bit of a hard one. The Mr. Arrow is not that great into their 1-drops. Obviously, if they don't have it,
Right.
it's pretty good. And it's good into Tipo. So, like, the more conservative approach would be Daisy keeping the Mr. Arrow, sending everything back. And the more, like, let's play the best as we can, maybe would be the Kaloon. Because if they have the best hand, which is like playing a 1-drop, that punishes it the most. And we, as you're doing here, we can keep both so that we can adjust depending on what we find as our 4 alteration here.
All right. What do you think we should do? Should we lock in the Mr. Arrow, the Calhoun, this?
I think it's 16. We're sending back 2. We're keeping 1. There's 13 left. The curve is pretty low, so yeah, I would risk it. I would keep the Kaloons and the Mr. Arrow. I really want a 3-drop and a strength to be as aggressive as possible here.
All right. Let's see if we are rewarded. And looks like we are.
Absolutely, those pieces are pretty much ink in this matchup, so we have 2 of our inks. We can go Daisy into Kaloon, and then go Tiana, and we don't really have to ink past 3, right? So either we ink that lady if we don't find a 2-drops or another ink, or we play it right after Tiana singing strength. And if we're able to ink to 3, play Tiana into play a lady and a 2-drop, singing strength with Tiana, we've won the game, right?
Right. And fun fact about Tiana, it is the perfect answer to that pesky 5-drop Elsa as well. It pretty much nullifies that turn 4 from them.
Yeah, on the play specifically because you can have the Tiana be exerted before they play um, their Elsa, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so I like this hand. I think this is an easy dub.
Yep.
So let's go Blurple on the draw now.
So
We
this
love
is a
getting
bit
these hooks on the
different.
draw.
It's very interesting that both of our on the draw has seen those on the draw cards that we've put in our deck exactly for this. But I have to say here is a bit different because even we're on the draw, we still need to go under Blurple. And so going too reactive is probably not the way for this matchup specifically.
Right.
So this is probably the hardest alteration that we're gonna do this whole episode because we're in a situation where yes, we have the control tools, but if we try to control Blurple, it's just not gonna work, right? Because what they can go evasive and not care about our hooks and Kaloons.
Right.
This is not looking good. We need to be going wide and basically refill with dock, right? That's
Right.
like our approach that we should have here. Uh, they could have like on four some of like everybody's playing Genie, and then everything else is kind of like different from builds to builds. So it could be Dumbo, it could be the Scrooge, which is the best one against us specifically, and it could outside of maybe Genie that is also good on the play, and it could also be Yago. The Yago is always the more dangerous one, and I really don't like to be playing it on 3 while playing Blurple. Uh, and this hand doesn't do anything against Genie, and it could absolutely does something against a Scrooge if it turns sideways, if we go Kaloon and hold on to that Lilo, right?
Right.
So it's a clean 1-for-1, but we've gained 2 lore in the process. Um, yeah, this is a hard one because we could like go for that, but if they play Genie, that hand is absolutely like a big hole, do nothing. So I really like I'm close to being sending 7 here. Uh, and actually like I don't like any of those choices. If we play Mr. Arrow, we cannot fight the board in any matter. They can take it out pretty easily. The hook is too reactive. Uh, the whole Pluto is way too late. So maybe keep Kaloon as like our only 2 like good 2-drops. But even then, it's pretty mediocre into evasive. So yeah, I'm just gonna send everything back and hope for a Daisy Lady start, right? Or Tiana or something like that.
All right, let's let her rip.
All right, that's actually not too bad. We can go Rhino, shift Rhino, uh, and hope to have like things to go wide into a dock, right? And that Rhino maybe can quest a little bit if they go for a Genie early start, right?
Yep. Yep. So much better than what we had. Not the best, but serviceable for sure.
Yeah. And we could maybe like after we go wide, maybe we can find a strength, and we have the early singer for it with the Rhino. So I could see this working out much better than what we had first, and it was a hard decision because we had like a medium start on the draw, but the game on the draw versus Blurple, if we're trying to go fight too fairly, is not gonna work out. So we had to like take our vegetables here and say like, no, this is not good enough, right? We could try to go for a fair approach, but I don't think it will work. So I think some of those skills for alteration is actually recognizing when to take some risk here, and I think it paid off.
Yeah. All right, let's move into Amethyst Steel on the play now.
Amethyst Steel on the play. This is a very interesting matchup because a lot of the time you cannot really turn sideways. Daisy is actually kind of a liability sometimes if they are able to play too many ones or too like Kaloons and stuff like that. So usually you kind of need to build up a board, sync strength, right? Tempo out with strength. So that's kind of the only thing we're missing here. We have Duck, we have strength, we have a 1-drop, we have a 2-drop. So Rhino, Arrow, and Penny are kind of like not exactly what we're looking for. We're looking to find a 3-drop. On the play, I could see again keeping the one of the 2-drops is yeah, one of the ink, and what that would probably be a 2-drop. Since we have the dock, we're not really looking to play 1, 2, 3, 4. We'd rather play like 1, 2 1s or 1, 2 into a lady plus something or something
Right.
like that, right? So I would probably keep the Mr. Arrow
Okay.
because it's the resist one that is there every turn.
Yep.
And Penny is more of a trick, but there's no trick to be played early on because we're just gonna play characters that cannot turn sideways,
Right.
So there's no tricks that can really be played.
All right.
And now I'm wondering, is this enough? I think so. Okay, we're
locking it in. We're going. We're sending, and we hit our Daisy.
right. So here we're just gonna go 1 into a 2, into a 2 and a 1, and hope to find a 3, right? By then, because we really want to be singing that strength, not hard casting it.
Right. Okay, let's go into Amethyst Steel on the draw now.
Yep. Okay, this is a very good hand. We're gonna play Hook, Kaloon, Pete, Lilo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we mulligan the other Kaloon and the Daisy. 1, 2, 3, 3. Yeah, pretty much it.
All right, easy enough. Get some more ink. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah, and if they play something like a 1-force, you can even play the Kaloon and then sing Be Our Guest with it because you have like maybe you can get away with it. But if they even then it's probably too risky because if they have Lilo themselves, then they just take out the Kaloon.
Yeah.
So probably not being able to turn that Kaloon sideways. But while we're holding on with that Lilo, we might be able to Arcasa Be Our Guest and basically look for a dock to refill after having like played to the board.
Got it. All right, we've got time for one more today. Would you rather do the mirror match on the play or on the draw?
Let's do on the draw for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
A mirror match of Amber, Steel, Aggro on the draw.
Yeah. So one of the things is that not everybody will be on a similar build, right? You can go more aggressive with the new Nala, and you can go with Lawrence instead of the Tiana. There's a few ways to build the Ember Steel aggro deck, and I've decided to go for Hook Kaloon for specifically those scenarios on the draw. If they play a Nala and you go Kaloon, like they can basically never exert it unless they have a Tiana, right? And the best thing you want to do after this is play Pete so that they cannot sing strength with their 3-drops. So you actually have the best opening here with Hook, Kaloon, Pete. So I would look to be doing that. I'm never playing Daisy on 1 here in the mirror because I'm never going to be able to quest. That will give way too much advantage.
Yep.
And Tiana is a way for us to go from controlling the board to turning sideways, right? So people will say that Tiana is like bad on the draw, but you need a way to actually turn the tide in your favor, and I think like Tiana is the best way to do it.
Oh yeah.
if we're able to do Hook, Kaloon, Pete, Sing, Strength, play Tiana, we should be able to win from there.
Right.
And we're on the draw, so we're gonna go for Lady and Mr. Arrow, sending back those two. Like, even though like Lady is a very good one, it's a bit too all in.
Yeah.
I think Pete is a better approach on the draw to make sure, well, not to make sure, but to try to be the first one playing the strength of a Raging Fire.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that strength is just such an important comeback mechanic in the game right now.
Yeah, a much needed one, and actually, I think we don't have any of those effects, and that's kind of a reason why the play draw disparity will be a bit too high to my taste. But
Yeah. So let's go ahead and see what we get here. Not what we were looking for. We might actually have to ink the Hook here and the Pete.
yeah, well,
We'll see what we draw, but
we're on the draw.
yeah.
And I think like Daisy Duck is a perfectly fine play on the draw if we're looking to just stalemate, because eventually we'll turn sideways and the two lore will matter. Specifically if we have Kaloon, right? If we didn't have Kaloon and we have Daisy Duck, it would be absolutely terrible because we don't have any way to fight the board. But I think we can get away with inking that Hook, playing the Daisy into the Kaloon, because the Kaloon will do the job that Hook was trying to do anyway.
Right.
So we're a bit punished for keeping the Tiana now that we have a second one, but we're on the draw. We like Kaloon's is gonna be very, like, it's the most important card, and we have Pete, right? And so we have 1, 2, 3 into Pete. If like, I'm sure we'll draw inkables like that. We have most of our uninkables here.
It'd be pretty hard to keep drawing all the uninks now.
Yeah. And even if we do, maybe we play the Tiana. They don't have the strength. There's still ways to be winning from here.
Yep, exactly.
But we have the most important one, which is the Kaloon.
We like Calhoun.
Yep.
All right.
Great.
Well, Sailor, this has been a wonderful episode of Alter Academy. I was very excited to get you on the first Fabled episode, because I know how much you go into the detail and how much just knowledge you have. And you do have one of the best Metaphies out there. So if you want more information like this, make sure to check out Sailor's Metaphy and learn from him. I've actually done a few coachings myself from him, and he helped me win a Let It Go in Seattle. So very appreciative of that. He does great work. Make sure to follow him on all the socials as well. And before we get out of here, Sailors, are there any shout-outs you want to make?
Well, shout out to you, Jeff, for being a very nice Lorcana player, sharing a lot of the knowledge with everyone. I think it's very generous of you to be doing these and recognizing that alterations in Lorcana is so important to have its own YouTube channel, basically. And shout out to Team Maelstrom. We just recently got new players.
My heart on one of them.
Obviously, it's a bit of a jab to my friend Jeff here. And yeah, shout out to Ravensburger for shaking things up, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a bit like, people are like, oh, I cannot play those nice things that we used to play. But you know how set 8 was very, very, like, not changing too much of the meta. I think it was only gonna get worse, right? And people would just stop buying, and the meta will be stale, and people would just stop playing eventually.
Yeah,
so,
I actually wrote an article on
needed.
that, so I'm glad you said that. Like, the first set, it's 100% of the card pool, and by the time we got to set 8, it was like 12 or 14% of the card pool, and so the cards either have to have crazy power spikes or they're just not playable. And so like the Shark deck didn't have any cards from set 8. I ran it back and it got better. Like, somehow no cards added, but it got better because of how the other decks became. And so this is going to be a very good start, and I'm glad you brought up altars, because I think the altars are going to be one of the most important aspects of this set, because my initial reaction is there's a lot less choices, because I think the games are going to be faster. and just sort of kind of play what you get because of how challenging works, and there's a lot less reactive cards, and so you just have to sort of play what you have, and the biggest choices in the game is going to be those altars.
Yes, how when to turn sideways.
Oh yeah,
is
it is a skill.
Yeah, it is a skill. So there's going to be that. But obviously, sometimes you just won't get to play the game. You've seen some of those on the play opening hands that we had. This thing with strength are basically non-games. So when you're on the receiving end of it, it's a bit of a letdown. I gotta admit. And it's always hard to balance those cards because a lot of the cards that are good on the draw are even better on the play, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the case for the Strength of a Raging Fire. So it's very hard to balance that out, and but maybe things will even out, right? Like I'm not the one that will do like very like doomy statements and takes before we've even had a few tournaments in. That's like so far what we had with how we built decks is a bit of a play draw disparity, but maybe we're going to need to adapt in our way to build those decks in order to be a little bit better on the draw. So
yep, exactly.
Maybe that evens out in the end.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to say before we get out of here, thank you for sending me my favorite card here. You can't see me, Sailor, but I'm showing the Bambi you sent me to our audience here. But thank you for sending this. It is the most beautiful enchanted card there is, and I'm very, very, very happy to have
it. French.
Yeah,
in French too.
The Le Petit Prince.
Petit Prince.
Yeah. All right, so everybody, this has been the first Fabled Alter Academy with Sailor of Team Maelstrom. We'll see you all next week. Have a good one.